Somebody you have never met is walking towards you, and before you decide anything, your face moves. The corners of your mouth pull back. Your teeth come out. You did that in a fifth of a second, without permission. Now put that exact face, those exact muscles, in front of a chimpanzee. It would not see a greeting. It would see a strange animal baring its teeth, and it would answer accordingly. Same face. In the world your ancestors lived in, it meant the opposite of what you just meant. Because the smile is not a nice thing that got nicer. In the primates we came from, pulling your lips back to show your teeth is a fear signal. It is closer to begging than to being happy. And when you go looking for smiling faces in the human record, in the art, in the statues, in the tens of thousands of photographs taken before 1900, you find almost none. Thousands of faces. Nothing. So which is it? Is the smile the oldest thing on your face or the newest? The answer is both, and the reason is strange. Every layer here is weirder than the last, and the final one will change how you think about every stranger you have ever been polite to. In the 1960s, a Dutch researcher named Van Hoof watched primates make faces at each other for years and found something that should be far more famous. Monkeys and apes are not making one smile. They are making two completely different expressions, for two completely different reasons, and we have quietly fused them into one. The first is the silent, bared teeth display. Lips peeled back, teeth exposed, no sound. The second is the play face. Mouth open, teeth covered, panting breath. Two faces, two meanings, and they could not be further apart. The silent bared teeth display is fear. In macaques, it is about as unambiguous as animal signals get. A low-ranking monkey sees a high-ranking one coming and pulls that face, and it means roughly, I see you, you are above me, please do not. It is a rank signal. It is submission. It travels up the hierarchy and almost never down. It is the face of an animal trying to make itself into a smaller problem. And that exact movement, hauling the mouth corners back and exposing the front teeth, is the direct ancestor of what you did at the stranger this morning. The play face is the fun one. It shows up when young primates wrestle. Mouth open, jaw loose, a breathy staccato panting that goes with it. If you have ever heard a chimp being tickled, and you should go and hear it, because it is the most unsettling and delightful sound in nature, that panting is not quite our laugh. It comes on the inhale and the exhale, like a saw. Ours only comes on the exhale, but it is the same signal, from the same face in the same context. That is where laughing comes from, not the smile. Laughing and smiling are two different animals wearing the same coat. And you need to understand why teeth are so loaded, because to us they are just teeth. To almost every other mammal, teeth are the weapon. Teeth are the entire argument. A wolf shows teeth and it is a threat. A male baboon has canines longer than a leopard's, and when he shows them, he is not being friendly. In that grammar, opening your mouth is drawing a blade. So the fear grimace is doing something clever and desperate at once. It says, look, here they are, my weapons, out in the open, and I am telling you I will not use them. It is a surrender flag made of knives, which raises something I want you to answer, because the comments on this will be better than the video. When was the last time you smiled at somebody and meant nothing by it at all? Not a happy smile. The other one. The one you do at your boss. The one you do when somebody says something rude and you have decided not to have the fight. Everybody knows that is not joy. So what is it? Tell me below what your fake smile is actually for, because I suspect the honest answers line up with a monkey more than anyone wants to admit. Now the first turn. In chimpanzees, that fear face has already started to move. It still means submission much of the time, but it also turns up in reassurance after a fight in a nervous kind of hello. It is drifting away from pure terror towards something more like, we are all right, you and me. In bonobos, it has drifted further still, into friendly contexts all over the place. Watch that trajectory. Fear, then appeasement, then reassurance, then hello. The smile is a fear signal that has spent millions of years being domesticated, and we are the end of that line, not the start. So go back. Put yourself in a body 60,000 years ago, in the cold middle of Europe. You live with maybe 30 people, and you have known every one of them your entire life. There's nobody to introduce yourself to. There's no stranger. There's no small talk, because there is nobody to make small with. Everyone already knows who you are, where you rank, whether you are dangerous, and what you ate today, because they were there. Now ask what a smile is for in that world. Because the polite one, the one you aim at a stranger, is a tool for a problem those people did not have. And here the question breaks open, because there are two different things going on with your face, and we have been sloppily calling both of them smiling. There is the one that happens to you, and there is the one you do. The one that arrives when your kid says something ridiculous, and the one you produce on demand at a camera. You have always known these are not the same. What almost nobody knows is how deep it goes, because it is not a difference of sincerity. It is not a matter of degree. Those two smiles are made by two different brains, on two different wiring systems, and one of them you do not have access to. In 1862, a French neurologist named Duchenne de Boulogne did something that would end a career today. He found a man whose face had gone numb from a nerve condition, attached electrodes to it, and ran current into the individual muscles to see what each one did. He was mapping a face like a circuit board, one wire at a time. And he could make that man do almost anything. He could build a grin out of electricity on command and photograph it. But there was one muscle he could not fake his way past, the ring of muscle around the eye, the one that crinkles the outer corner and narrows the eye into that shape you recognize instantly across a room. When he stimulated only the mouth, he got a smile that looked like a smile and felt, to everyone who saw it, deeply wrong. To make the face look genuinely joyful, the eye had to join in. And then he noticed the thing this entire video is about. The mouth muscle obeys the will. The eye muscle does not. He wrote that only a true feeling brings it into play. Most people simply cannot fire that muscle on command, however hard they try. And you are almost certainly trying right now, and you almost certainly cannot. It only shows up when something actually got through to you. Your face has a part that reports to your emotions and takes no instructions from you. And if that sounds like a poetic way of saying fake smiles look fake, here's the part that makes it undeniable, and it comes from stroke wards. There is a condition where you ask a patient to smile and they cannot. One side of the face will not move. The damage is in the motor cortex, the part that takes orders. Then somebody tells a joke in the room, and that same patient smiles, fully, both sides, perfectly symmetrical. The face that could not obey a direct instruction 10 seconds ago works flawlessly the moment something is actually funny, because the joke is routed through different hardware underneath the cortex, and that hardware is undamaged. And it runs the other way, which closes the case. There are patients with damage deeper in the brain who smile perfectly on command. Ask, and the face performs. Then something genuinely delights them, and their face does nothing at all. The joy is in there. The face is simply not reporting it. So one group can only smile when they mean it, and another can only smile when they do not. Two smiles, two circuits, two parts of the brain, one built long before you had a will to disobey it with. The polite one is you. The real one is not you. It is something older than you using your face. Sit with that, because it reframes the entire question. When we ask why ancient humans never smiled, we are not asking one question. We are asking two. Did they have the old smile? The one that fires by itself, that nobody can produce on purpose? And did they have the new one? The one you aim at a camera, or a stranger, or a boss? Those have completely different answers. One is millions of years old. The other is younger than the light bulb. If that just moves something in your head, that is the whole job of this channel. We take one ordinary thing about you, your face, your voice, your sleep, and go down far enough that it stops being ordinary. Subscribe, because the next 3 layers are the ones that answer the title, and the last one is about you specifically, right? Did ancient humans smile or not? The old smile is not going anywhere, and here is how we know it is wired in rather than learned. Babies smile. That is not the interesting part. The interesting part is which babies. Babies born completely blind smile. They have never seen a face. They cannot possibly be copying anyone, and they smile anyway, on the same schedule as everybody else. Babies born both deaf and blind smile. There is no channel left for them to have learned it through. It came with the body. And there is a study I love for this. Researchers went to the Paralympic judo and photographed athletes' faces at the exact moment they won and the exact moment they lost, including athletes blind since birth, then compared them to sighted athletes at the same moment. The faces were the same, not similar. The same expressions, the same muscles, in the same order, produced by people who have never seen a human face do anything. So yes, ancient humans smiled. 60,000 years ago, somebody's child did something stupid and their face did exactly what yours does, which means the title question is really about the other smile. The performance. So go and count how many of the faces our ancestors left behind are smiling. This is where it gets eerie, because the answer is almost none of them for almost all of history, almost everywhere on Earth. The oldest carved faces we have, the little ivory heads from the Ice Age, are blank. Egypt, 3,000 years of art, thousands of faces, and the expression is essentially always the same calm neutral mask. Rome made portrait busts so realistic they look about to speak. Warts, jowls, receding hairlines, no flattery at all, and not smiling. Medieval painting is full of saints and kings and almost nobody grins. And when you do finally find a smile in a painting, it is usually attached to a drunk, a fool, a child, or a prostitute. That is not an accident. That is a rule. There is one gorgeous exception that shows how strange the rule is. For about a century, archaic Greek sculpture put a smile on everything. Statues of young men, statues of goddesses, all with the same slight upturned mouth, regardless of the situation. It is on statues of people who are dying. There is a wounded warrior pulling an arrow out of himself, smiling. Nobody agrees what it meant, but look at what it is not. It is not a reaction to anything. It is not a moment, it is a mask. And the moment Greek sculpture learned to show real feeling, it dropped that smile and never went back. Quick one, lock your answer in before I get there. You know the myth about why nobody smiles in old photographs. There are two standard explanations, and I guarantee you have heard one at a party. I'm about to take both apart. So before I do, put in the comments which one you were taught and whether you have ever repeated it to somebody. I want to see how far it has spread, because it is wrong in a really interesting way. Explanation 1. Exposure times. The camera took so long that nobody could hold a smile, so everybody looks miserable. Great story. It is true for about a decade. The earliest processes did need many seconds, and there were headrests and clamps to hold people still. But by the 1880s, exposures were down to a fraction of a second. You could photograph a horse mid-gallop. And people went on not smiling for another 40 years. 40 years after the technical reason evaporated, the faces did not change. So that is not it. Explanation 2. Bad teeth. Everyone had rotten teeth, so nobody wanted to show them. This one falls apart faster, and for a beautiful reason. Bad teeth were universal. There was nothing to be ashamed of, because there was nothing to compare yourself to. You cannot be embarrassed by the standard condition of every mouth you have ever seen. And these are the same centuries in which people cheerfully sat for portraits with goitres, missing eyes, smallpox scars, and enormous facial tumors, and had them painted in full detail. A society that will hang your tumor on a wall is not hiding your molars. The real reason is much better, and it is about what a picture was for. A photograph, for its first 50 years, was not a snapshot. It was a portrait, and it inherited everything from painted portraits. And a portrait was not a record of a moment. It was a record of a person, permanent, possibly the only image of you that would ever exist. It was going on a wall, and your grandchildren would look at it and decide who you had been. In that situation, you do not do a face. You hold a face. It is closer to a signature than a photo. And in that world, an open grin was not friendly. It meant you had lost your composure. Self-command was the entire point of an adult face. Grinning at nothing was what the drunk did, what the simple did, what children did. Mark Twain, who was funny for a living, wrote that a photograph is an important document, and that nothing is more damning to hand down to posterity than a silly, foolish smile, fixed there forever. That is a professional comedian refusing to be caught looking amused. He understood what the picture was, not a moment of his life, a verdict on it. If your model of your own face has taken a hit, hit like. Genuinely, it is the only signal that tells the algorithm to show this to somebody else who has been repeating the bad teeth thing at parties. 2 layers left, and they are the best 2. So who changed it? Because something did. Somewhere between your great-grandparents and you, the default photographic face flipped from a composed neutral to a full teeth-out grin in about 3 generations. That is far too fast to be evolution. It is not biology. It is an industry. When cameras got cheap and got into everyone's hands, the companies selling them had a problem. They were not selling a scientific instrument anymore. They were selling a leisure product. And nobody wants a leisure product that generates a wall of grim ancestors. So the advertising did not sell you a camera. It sold you happiness and the idea that a photograph is where happiness goes. Look at the pictures those campaigns used. Nobody is having their portrait taken. Everybody is on holiday, at the beach, laughing. The message, repeated for decades, was that a photograph is not a document of who you are. It is a souvenir of a good time. And if it is proof you were having a good time, then obviously you must look like you were having one. Then dentistry got cheap. Hollywood put enormous perfect teeth on enormous screens, and around the 1940s, a phrase turns up that pushes your mouth into exactly the right shape. Say cheese. Nobody smiled for the camera because they were happy. They learned to be photographed happy. It is behavioral engineering, and it worked so well you think it is instinct. Now the honest part, because I would rather give you the exceptions than a clean lie. The smile is not one global language and never was. There are places where smiling at a stranger is not neutral, it is strange. There is a Russian proverb, and it is not a joke, that laughing without a reason is the mark of a fool. Smiling at somebody you do not know in the street for nothing does not read as warm. It reads as insincere, or a bit simple, or like you want something. Not because Russians are unfriendly, because a smile there means something specific and personal, and spending it on a stranger devalues it. Real signals are not free, and it is not just how much people smile, it is which part of the face they read. In Japan, the eyes carry the emotion. In America, the mouth does. And then my favorite study on this topic, because it takes everything I have said and puts a number on it. Researchers asked why some countries smile so much more than others, and instead of guessing at national character, they went and got historical migration data going back 500 years. How many separate source populations does this country's ancestry come from? That one number predicted how much the country smiles today. Countries built out of many populations who arrived without a shared language smile more. Countries built from one long-settled population smile less. There it is. The smile is not a national mood. It is a tool for talking to strangers, and the more strangers your ancestors had to negotiate with, the more you use it. Right? Real fight in the comments? Pick a side. Team Mask says the polite smile is a lie, that we are all performing all day, that it is a monkey submission face wearing a suit, and a culture where everyone grins at strangers is a culture where nobody means anything. Team Glue says no. It is the most useful thing we ever built. It is how millions of strangers live stacked on top of each other without killing each other, and calling it fake misses the point entirely. One of those is closer to right. Pick one, say why, and go argue. I will pin the best answer from each side. And now, the last layer. The one I actually made this video for, and it is not about photographs at all. Go back to that camp. 60,000 years ago, 30 people, everybody known. What is the polite smile actually for? Not the real one. The real one is joy leaking out of your face and needs no explanation. The other one, the one you produce on demand, at somebody you do not know and do not particularly like. What problem is that solving? It is solving the stranger. That is the whole answer. A deliberate smile is a peace treaty you can sign in a fifth of a second, at a distance, with no shared language, with somebody who has every reason to fear you and who you have every reason to fear. It is a fear grimace repurposed as a handshake. That is why it descends from the submission face and not the play face. It was never about happiness. It is about not being a threat. And ancient humans in a band of 30 did not need it because they never met a stranger. Not once. So the title is a trick, and you should call me on it. Ancient humans smiled constantly at their children, at their friends, at the person who came back when the others did not. They had the smile that matters, the involuntary one, the one nobody can fake, the one that came free with the face. What they never did was aim one. They never produced a smile on purpose at a person they had never met to reassure them, and they never produced one for a machine. The smile they had, you barely use. The smile you use, they had no reason to invent. So think about what your face is doing tomorrow. You will walk out and produce that expression dozens of times at cashiers, at neighbors, at people in lifts, at people whose names you have already lost, and you will not notice one of them. Everyone is a tiny treaty. That is a monkey's terror, sanded down over millions of years, pressed into service as the cheapest peace agreement our species ever invented. And it works so well that a species of anxious primates who used to live 30 to a valley now stacks 8 million of itself into one city and mostly does not kill each other. Your ancestors never needed it. You use it 40 times before lunch. That is the most successful social technology in human history, and you run it with your mouth. And that thing at the very start, the stranger walking toward you, your face moving before you decided anything. Now you know what that was. That was 30 million years of your ancestors showing their teeth to say, I will not use these, arriving in your face in a fifth of a second without asking you first. Tell me in the comments who you smiled at today and meant absolutely nothing by it. I really want to read those. Like it, subscribe, and go argue about whether the smile is a mask or the glue.